Listen to why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. T&Cs apply. In-app only.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. There's nothing like gaining a fresh perspective from experts who've seen it all and have the wisdom to prove it. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. With plans starting at $10 a month, billed annually, you get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. With Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest of schedules. And the classes really make a difference. 3 in 4 surveyed members feel inspired every time they watch Masterclass. And 83% of surveyed members have applied something they've learned from Masterclass to their lives. Masterclass always has great offers during the holidays, sometimes up to as much as 50% off. Head over to masterclass.com/audio for the current offer. That's up to 50% off at masterclass.com/audio. masterclass.com/audio.
All right, we're joined on the hotline by Al Hrabosky, formerly, still, the Mad Hungarian, part of the St. Louis Cardinals broadcast team on Bally Sports Midwest. Al, it's a great pleasure. I'm a longtime Cardinals fan. Thank you for being on the show today.
Well, I appreciate you having me, but I got to tell you a little secret. I actually got my start as a Cardinal fan in Wichita. I played semi-pro ball in I guess it was 1968 for the Sunflower Packers, and I was young, and I can remember sitting on the coach's backyard and listening to KMOX radio and listening to Cardinal games, and then a year later I signed with St. Louis.
Yeah, I was aware of your time here in Wichita with the Sunflower Packers, believe it or not, a Victory League team at the time and a good one. So let's start there. What are your memories of long ago being here in Wichita for a summer?
Well, I just had the first year of college, and my coach set it up, and I came there and stayed at Wheat Chalker dorms. I think they were condemned at that time, and we played for the Sunflower Packers, but none of us could stand the smell of the slaughterhouse, so we'd work in Kansas cold storage. And if you had the dream job, a refrigerated boxcar, but most of the time we were down in the basement picking up 100-pound boxes of beef. And, they kind of got mad at us. We only worked 8 hours. And then, the summer heat, to be like 100 degrees outside and you'd be in a room that's 30 degrees the whole time. And I came out there, and then I got picked up by Cessna to play in the Nationals. And, I was working 8 hours plus at the Kansas cold storage. And then when I got picked up by Cessna, there were 4 of us, and we had to build 4 engine stands that the wood was already cut and everything. All you had to nail was, 4 pieces into a square and a couple holders on the side. The other guys would sleep in a plane, and I'd do all those things in a half hour, and they'd be waiting, for all day to go out and practice. But it was a good experience.
How did all of that lead you to becoming a Cardinal fan, and did your fandom play any part in you eventually becoming a Cardinal? Were they aware of you because of that for any reason?
Well, when I got picked up by Cessna for the national finals, a Cardinal scout, Runt Marr, offered me a contract, and I said I wanted to have another year of schooling at least, and then I wanted to sign. So he said he'd write a recommendation to the Cardinals, and I got drafted that winter by St. Louis, but I had to deal with the California guys, and they didn't like me because I was too small. I got drafted the first year I pitched, and I didn't play a lot of baseball. I was a football player. That was my passion and my love. But my senior year was the first year I pitched. And really, I hadn't, from 14 years of age, I hadn't played baseball until my junior year. And I was an outfielder, first baseman. But, and then I got drafted. And then actually, they had that January draft back then. And it was for people that had been drafted before, and some college students or something. I think I was the only guy that ever made it to the big leagues from the January draft for the Cardinals. And the last nights they had rights to me before the June draft, my college coach said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to sign with the Cardinals," but they made a real low offer before the season. I went out and I was the player of the year for that conference, and nobody ever contacted me afterwards. And the night before, so he said he would call the scouting supervisor. Told me later that day, he said, he'll be at your house at 9:00. And I said, "Coach, you got him that far. Why don't you come too?" And I always said I was signed as a favor to my college coach, but I didn't care. I just wanted the opportunity. And with it, 1 year of signing in June of '69, I was in the big leagues in June of '70.
Al Hrabosky, our guest, former Cardinal, got to the big leagues at the age of 20 in 1970, so that's pretty impressive. You were a starting pitcher in the minor leagues and kind of transitioned to being a relief pitcher. Did that better suit your personality, and did that lead to the moniker the Mad Hungarian?
Well, I had a lot of nicknames, but this is family show, so that was the only one we could settle on. Back then, if you were in the minor leagues and you weren't a starting pitcher, you weren't a prospect. You had no chance to get into the big leagues. You were just somebody filling out a roster. So, yes, I started in the minor leagues, but was always with the intent of probably being a relief pitcher. And then Whitey Herzog, when I played for Whitey in Kansas City, and I love Whitey, best manager I ever played for, he would always say that I was too hyper to be a starting pitcher. So, he after the 70 season, I had already lost my student deferment. My lottery number was 13. I already taken the physical and kind of bogusly got a year to have corrective elbow surgery, which I still have never had. So in the meantime, I got on reserve units. So 71, I was gone, all of spring training and most of the year in the Army. So then that kind of set me back, and 71 was just a wasted year. And then they said, you got to go back through the minor leagues. And so I would start there. But Whitey always said that because I was so hyper, I was better suited for, being a relief pitcher.
So this is probably the 10 millionth time you've been asked this question, but when I Googled it, nothing came up. So are you actually of Hungarian descent?
Yes, I am. It's one of those things where, a lot of times back, young, I was called, the Polish or Polak or, which those are neighbors, but I was proud of my Hungarian heritage. And so one day our PR director, walked by his office and he called me MH, and I kind of stopped. I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Mad Hungarian." And I said, "Oh, I like that." But believe it or not, I am the Hungarian ambassador to baseball. I've been over there several times doing a couple things for the government, assessing their baseball program, which is non-existent. When I first started doing it, it wasn't Olympic sport, so there was no money, national money that went to it. So it was just kind of a word by mouth. And there was an American colonel stationed at the Hungarian embassy, and he was helping out a local guy trying to, build some kind of a baseball program there, but it really hasn't gotten that far off the ground.
Speaking with Al Hrabosky here on the show, so happy to have him with us. So when's the first time, Al, that you took the ball, slammed it in your glove from behind the mound, turned around with that intimidating look and that Fu Manchu? That was all by design, I take it. When's the first time you did that? When did you break that out?
Yeah, it was right after the All-Star of 74. And, it's the start of 74. I was the closer and really was struggling. Just my mind was wandering. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And the Cardinals were getting close to sending me down. And, one day Jack Buck, our great announcer, said, Simmons saved you. And I go, what do you mean Simmons saved me? And he goes, well, they were getting ready to send you down. And somebody asked Ted, what's wrong with Al? And he said, don't worry about it. He'll figure it out. So I knew that I had to work on my concentration. And what I came up with was that walking off the back of the mound, got into visualization, mentally seeing myself wind up, throw a pitch, seeing a positive reaction of a swing and miss. And I do really remember the very first time I did it. It was in a late inning situation. I don't know if it was a save or the tie, or the game was tied, but Steve Garvey was up, and right-handed batter. I'm a left-handed pitcher, and when I went back there, I just kind of visualized where I wanted to throw the ball. And then one of the things that I learned from Gibson is to accept the consequences. And when I got on the mound, I tried to duplicate what I did mentally, physically, and I just wound up through the ball that went exactly where I wanted to go. I got a positive swing and miss, and it's almost like a light bulb going off. So that was the start of it. It was something that was totally designed for me, but it did have, an effect. If I was playing in St. Louis or a home team, the crowd usually was very receptive. On the road, I loved it, because I'd be greeted by a standing boo, and I just thrived on that one-on-one battle. So I tried to create a one-on-one battle with every hitter. And obviously when you had, Reggie Jackson or Schmidt or, Stargell or any of the big sluggers, you didn't have to create that drama. It was already there. So it was just fun, but that's what kind of changed my whole career and separated me from anybody else because nobody's really taken it to that extreme.
I was just watching the clip of you not really getting into it with an umpire, but you guys couldn't really figure out which ball to use, and you were throwing it back, and he was rolling it back, and you rolled it back. I know probably opposing hitters, you graded on them a little bit with some of the things you did. What about umpires? What were your dealings like with them?
Well, that was at the end of my career was with Atlanta. And in that particular game, Bob Engel was the home plate umpire. And I, was kind of mopping up in the game. It was my third inning relief, and Reggie Smith, former teammate, but Reggie, a great competitor and great ball player, was at home plate, and I got a ball from Bob Engel, and it just felt like it was real high seams, and I didn't like that. So I was trying to exchange it. And they gave me another one that just felt exactly the same way. And so when I got ready to throw it back to him, he threw one out to me. So I rolled my ball towards him, and he took another ball out, rolled it back to me. And so, I wasn't trying to mess with him. And I actually even stopped by the umpire room at Dodger Stadium because it was right next to the visitors' clubhouse. And I knocked on the door and said, Bob, I wasn't trying to mess with you. I just didn't like the ball. And he goes, oh, that's all right. But anyway, I had really a good rapport with umpires because most of the time the opposition was always yelling at them because I was off the mound and doing this and doing that. And they would always react so negatively. So I think in some ways it benefited me because I was never complaining to them. I had one umpire tell me one time, he goes, I don't particularly like what you do, but the crowd reacts to it, and that's good for baseball, and so, I'll accept it. And then I had other guys like Ed Bargo, who was also Hungarian, but was the senior most umpire in the National League, and he told me, he goes, I really like to umpire you because, you just come right at people. There's no messing around. You're just going to attack the hitter, and that was kind of what I always tried to do. I was a frustrated football player on the mound, and I credit a lot of my aggressiveness to the fact that I loved football.
Couple moments here left with Al Hrabosky. In 1975, he finished third in the National League Cy Young Award voting, eighth in the MVP voting for the Cardinals. So let's cut to the current version of the Cardinals, because I greatly like your work on the pre and post game. I loved your work when you were doing color analysis of the games. We're led to believe that the Cardinals have addressed their pitching situation in a positive way. Yet we find out today that Sonny Gray has what they term to be a mild hamstring pull. It may cost him his opening day start, but we're pretty vague about the rest of it. Are the Cardinals in a good place right now, Al?
Well, they had a lot of work to do this offseason, and they addressed, three starting pitchers, with Sonny Gray being the best one and the most prominent, bringing back Lance Lynn, and then you got Kyle Gibson coming. So they got veteran guys. Last year, they, especially after the trade deadline when they traded away pitching, they were awful young and the guys weren't ready. So they feel like they've got guys that are going to go deeper into a game, take the pressure off the bullpen. I think they've done some real interesting things in the bullpen. So they are actually better than they were last year right now. But last year, if you would have told me, I said they should have won the Central Division in the National League. And obviously they had their first losing season, 91 losses, last place, horrible season. But, with what I give John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, a lot of credit, because he wanted to go out and get three starters and rework his bullpen. And he struck very early, getting Sonny Gray and the two other starters. And if he would have waited, and I know they were very interested in Yamamoto, but when it started talking about he was going to be $200 million guy, I knew the Cardinals weren't going to go there, and they shouldn't have. Even though the kid's 25, and it was probably more of a sound investment than a lot of the other guys. And then he ends up signing for $325 million. But when the numbers got so big, I think the fact that the Cardinals struck so early, those guys might not have been around if you waited for the bigger names. And they got some intriguing guys in the bullpen, some guys that, Kittredge was an all-star in 21 for Tampa Bay. Then he had Tommy John surgery. He did pitch the last couple months and pitched well for Tampa Bay last year. So this is his walk year. So I think he's very interesting. You still got your closer and your seventh man, and they expecting a lot of Jojo Romero and Gallegos to bounce back. Gallegos needs to bounce back, and Romero just, end up having a knee injury. And patella tendonitis in the knee. So, and then with Kittredge and some of these other guys, I think they stockpiled, and it really will allow some of those younger pitchers that are still young, 20, 23, 24, 25, to, get more seasoning in the minor leagues. So hopefully if they stay healthy and hopefully if everybody advances a little bit offensively, it's got a chance to be a good club. I don't know if it'd be very difficult to be faced up against the Atlantas, the Philadelphias, and the Dodgers, but they should win the Central Division.
Well, I appreciate it. Speaking as a fan, I want them to be a great club, but that's fandom right there. So, Al, thank you so much. It's really,
I'm a fan too, so I want to see him do well also.
I hear you. Thank you so much. It's great talking with you. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Okay, Bob. Anytime. Thank you.
Listen up, football never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio. T&Cs apply. In-app only.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. There's nothing like gaining a fresh perspective from experts who've seen it all and have the wisdom to prove it. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. With plans starting at $10 a month, billed annually, you get unlimited access to over 200 plus classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. With Masterclass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest of schedules. And the classes really make a difference. 3 in 4 surveyed members feel inspired every time they watch Masterclass. And 83% of surveyed members have applied something they've learned from Masterclass to their lives. Masterclass always has great offers during the holidays, sometimes up to as much as 50% off. Head over to masterclass.com/audio for the current offer. That's up to 50% off at masterclass.com/audio. masterclass.com/audio.
You're jamming your favorite song, and while you aren't missing a beat, you could be missing a signal from your body. It's an SOS from your kidneys, and it doesn't sound like music at all. It's silent. High blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and other risk factors can quietly stress the kidneys, leading to negative impacts on the heart. That's why you should ask your doctor about a simple urine test called UACR. Most miss the signal for hidden kidney disease and related heart risk. You shouldn't. Visit detectthesos.com today to learn more.
At ADP, we know you want your landscape business to succeed, but we don't know anything about landscaping. ADP only knows how to handle the business of your small business. So if ADP focuses on the payroll and the HR, while you focus on the land and the scaping, success should follow. Just don't expect us to know all about Kentucky bluegrass, zero-turn cutting, or what to do with a woodchuck. That's for you to figure out. Let ADP help your small business focus on the part of the business you're good at. ADP for small business.